So step one is, you know what you don't want, you know what you do want, you're asking for what you do want. Step two is source lines right up with what you want. And as your source energy focuses in that non-resistant way, all cooperative components are gathered and things are lined up for you. And then when you take this most delicious of all of the steps, which is step 3, when you stop arguing for your limitations and pointing out what's wrong, when you stop seeing the lack of what you want or the absence of what you want, and you turn your attention to what you want and why you want it, and you feel the relief of the tension as you focus in the direction of what you want and begin even to feel satisfaction even before it is fully manifested, because you're now no longer in contradiction to what you want. So now you're beginning to feel frisky and expectant and anticipation and eagerness. Now you are achieving step 3. Step 3 is a state of alignment with what you want. It's allowing who you really are and all that you have become to be fully manifested, to turn to the things in your life where you and others can see and hear and smell and taste and touch them. Step 4 is being really good at that. Some think that's funny, that step 4 is just being good at step 3, but we think it's worth acknowledging the mastery of allowing, the mastery of focus, the mastery of caring about how you feel and being willing to focus in a way that feels good, the mastery of acknowledging, the mastery of calibrating the vibration of your being to the vibration of the source within you. Mastery of creation, mastery of letting in what I'm asking for, mastery of putting myself in a position in my human form where I can witness the becoming of what I've asked for. It is so fun to witness it becoming. Humans, you mostly just want it to become so you can then focus on it having already become. But that isn't what you intended. When you came into this physical body, you knew you would always be in the state of becoming. So you didn't plan on it being the jerky experience that it sometimes is for you. You didn't plan on wanting it, withholding yourself from it, worrying about it, not letting it in, and then in a weak moment of forgetting what you're doing, focusing and letting it in, and then surprise, there it is for a minute. You didn't want the roller coaster ride that so many of you are having. You knew that when you came into this physical body, you had the capability of focusing in the direction of what you want at all times as you're witnessing it in its various phases becoming. You knew that you would never get it done and that you couldn't get it wrong. And you knew that the reason you couldn't get it wrong is because you can't get it done. And you knew that anytime you're standing in the absence of something that you want, that it would catapult you into the vibrational existence of it, and that all you would have to do is focus in anticipation of it becoming, and that it would be. As humans, you've sort of trained yourself to emotionally respond to what you see, and that is the biggest thing that holds you in a place of unhappiness and of deprivation of who you really are and what you want, of all other things put together. It's that most of your vibrational offering comes from what you're observing, and what you're observing is old news. What you're observing is what you've allowed to turn to things, but there's a whole vibrational reality. We call that your vortex. There's this whole vibrational reality that is full of all of the things that you have become already in a vibrational sense, that you've just got to let into your physical experience, because once you've given birth to it, you have to let it be your experience. You can't keep asking for things and holding yourself apart from it and feel good. So the joy of life experience is to give birth and then to witness the steady, never-ending unfolding of the more coming into vibrational reality. We want you to get so good, so accustomed to knowing that there's more that's coming into being, that you are satisfied with the part that you're witnessing coming into being right now. Step 5 is being so good at step 4 that now when you're back in a contrasting moment where you're clearly knowing what you don't want, because it never ends, life's just going to keep moving forward for you, but you're not feeling negative emotion in the contrast. You're understanding that the contrast is necessary for the expansion of the whole. So you don't take it personally. You don't beat up on yourself about it or anybody else. You don't look at it as some terrible thing that is threatening you, because you know it doesn't threaten you. It gives birth to the more, you see.
How can I help myself to get to more of the receptive mode? Even though I think it, I know it, I feel it.
Isn't the first thing knowing whether you're there or not?
Yeah.
We talked about this already too, but we really want to amplify it here. It's a wonderful, wonderful question. How can I more deliberately and effectively get into the receptive mode? Here's a very powerful answer. Sometimes you can't, so just give it a break. Sometimes something's happened and you just feel negative emotion, and the harder you try, the worse it gets. The harder you try to solve a problem, the bigger the problem gets. So understanding how you feel is an important component of this. But what we've noticed as we've visited with so many of you since the beginning of your existence is this: it always gets better if you'll just give it a minute. So when you decide to stop the struggle and stop trying so hard to prove your worthiness, and stop trying so hard to get it right, and start trusting that it's on its way to being the way you want it to be, if you could just settle down a little bit and allow it to be. It's the trying too hard that is tripping you up, and most of that is because you care too much about how you appear to the others around you. You care more about what others think about how you're doing than you do about how you feel in the moment. And so when you let your relationship between your inner being and you be the thing that matters the most, then it's just easier and easier. The reason that we teach meditation, and this is really for you, this statement, it's easier to teach almost everyone to have no thought than to clean up a negative thought, because you're invested in the negative thought. Law of attraction already brought you a lot of ammunition. Law of attraction has already shored up your negative belief that's working against you, you see. And so if you can just quiet your mind, your vibration will rise, and then you can come at it again. So if you feel like you're in a struggle, take a nap. If you feel like you're in a struggle, take a walk. Do something to break the cycle of attraction if you can. And meditation is the most powerful tool that we know of for that. You're doing extremely well. You're consciously aware of how things are unfolding. We know that you're in a vibrational place where you're consciously aware of how you feel and witnessing what's coming. But you are like so many others. You are doing more of your taking score when you're not where you want to be than when you are where you want to be. And so we just want to make this strong statement to you. In every waking moment, you are either under the influence of your inner being, which means you feel great, some version of great. You feel frisky or lighthearted or silly or clear-minded or interested in something. It feels really good to be tuned into your inner being. And there are lots of emotions that indicate it, but they all feel really good. When you're under the influence of your inner being, that's how you always feel. Or you could be under the influence of something else. And so if you'll just stop and ask yourself when a strong emotion is within you, especially if it's a strong negative emotion, what influence am I under? And you acknowledge, oh, wait a minute. Don't beat up on yourself, because it's just fine. Just acknowledge that when you're under the influence of something other than your inner being, you don't feel so good. And these are the most powerful words that we will ever speak to anyone. These are the words that we want you to take away from this gathering, if you feel like it, and always understand that this is the essence of everything that we teach here. Your singular work is to calibrate yourself to the frequency of your source. That's your singular work. Calibrate yourself to the frequency of your source. Is there another way of saying that, Abraham? Yeah. Your singular work is to get happy. Your singular work is to feel good, because all the other stuff, you've done it without even needing to know that you were doing it. You were born into contrast. Contrast gave you data and information. You filled your vortex full of all kinds of things that you want. Step 1 and step 2 have already happened. Your singular work is to calibrate yourself to the frequency of your source, which means your singular work is to feel as good as you can feel whenever you're focused upon it. But the question that you're asking is, but when I don't feel good, how do I go about that calibration? And we say, that's really what you've got to figure out how to do, because when you know you're out of sorts and you're determined that you're going to get lined up, usually you make it worse because you're trying too hard. And why? Because you're aware that you're not where you want to be and trying to push where you don't want to be away from you. Can you feel it?
Yeah. Yeah.
Just take it easier, be nicer to yourself, do more things that are fun, get out ahead of it, meditate every morning, segment in 10 before you walk into a segment, acknowledge the positive aspects of your life, count your blessings, make lists of positive aspects, look for reasons to feel good. And if you start early enough in the day before reasons that you don't feel good have shown themselves to you, then you're off on the right foot, so to speak. And then just stay after that until before you know it, you're just feeling good mostly. Not always, not ever always. You're human, here to sift and sort and launch new rockets of desire. Just stop beating up on yourself when you're in step 1. Let it be a step 5 moment. Oh, contrast. One day, Esther was dusting an etagere with all the beautiful things that she and Jerry had collected from all around the world, and the shelf came off. She didn't even understand how the thing was constructed, and the top shelf banged into the second and the third, and everything on the shelf was broken. Jerry's in another room, and he can hear it, and he says, stand still, because he knows Esther has no shoes on. So she stands, and there are shards of glass all over, some of them sticking in the floor, broken everything from the shelf. And Jerry said, oh good, something to buy. That's all gone. Now what? Now we need stuff to fill that shelf back up. And boy, isn't that a fun thing to do, you see. And so it doesn't matter where you are. The universe is rich with all kinds of things to satisfy and surprise and delight you. Yes?
Yes.
This is a really good time for a segment of refreshment.
Thank you.